Good morning. I'm Will Kohlschreiber with breaking news from ENN's National News Center in New York. We're following up on our lead story of the massive explosion which hit the Los Angeles area this morning. Here's what we know so far. Just after 7:30 a.m. Pacific time, a large explosion rocked the Los Angeles area. The effects of the blast are so extensive that it has thrown Southern California into virtual chaos. The exact location of the blast has been very difficult to verify so far, but several reports from other networks are placing it somewhere in the San Fernando Valley, just outside of downtown LA, and are speculating that the actual location of the explosion was near the Universal Studios movie lots and theme park. 911 call centers across the region have been overwhelmed with reports of damage and calls for help since the incident occurred. Eyewitnesses have described the event as a blinding flash and searing heat followed by an overwhelming shock wave. Emergency and law enforcement personnel responding to the blast began detecting high radiation readings in the area, and officials are confirming the blast involved some kind of radioactive material, although no one is saying how bad or extensive this problem may be. Obviously, there are now concerns not only for the victims of the explosion, but for the emergency personnel that are trying to desperately work and assist the victims in the area as well. ENN has been receiving email reports from LA residents reporting entire buildings having every window blown out and freeways completely blocked by traffic collisions for miles. One person from the San Gabriel Valley, located to the east of the blast area, wrote that from a distance, the column of smoke rising above the blast site might be written off as just another Southland wildfire, but on the ground, the scene tells a much different story. Conditions on the ground near the blast are being described as utter devastation and hell on earth. Right now we are being told that we have Tracy Ferguson. She's a field reporter with our Los Angeles ENN affiliate on the phone right now. Tracy, what can you tell us about the situation?
This is Tracy Ferguson. I'm standing at the corner of Van Nuys Boulevard and Van Owen Street in Van Nuys. I'm a field reporter with the network, and I'm a reporter with ENN. Who is this?
Tracy, we're on the air right now.
Hello?
Yep, go ahead. What can you tell us about the situation? Tracy?
Well, it's like a scene from the movie Armageddon out here. I'm currently in Van Nuys, which is about 5 to 6 miles from the reported blast site, and the scene here is unbelievable. From my angle, I'm looking southeast towards the site of the blast, and as I look around, practically every window in just about every building facing towards the blast has been blown out. There are also a significant number of people injured, even right around me. There is a panic on the streets. Thousands of people are running up Van Nuys Boulevard, which I'm on, trying to get away.
Tracy, can you give us any information about the number of injuries or fatalities as a result of this explosion?
Will, we've been receiving reports from the local hospitals of thousands of injuries and fatalities since the initial explosion took place, but as you can imagine, have no way of confirming that at the moment. Responders working in and around the blast site, however, have told us of seeing large numbers of bodies as well as substantial numbers of severely injured persons trying to leave the area. I really wouldn't be surprised if there were tens of thousands of casualties out here.
Tens of thousands.
Yes, Will, tens of thousands. I know I've said this before, but this is a scene straight out of the movie Armageddon. Even worse, because it's not a movie, it's a nightmare.
Tracy, are you in any sort of position to see what the emergency response to this has been?
Well, right now there's emergency vehicles headed towards the direction of the blast, and the responders are calling the area immediately around the explosion a no-go zone. But we've heard reports that all that remains of entire buildings is just piles of twisted metal and glass, and the resulting debris is making streets impassable. Even here, a little over 5 miles from the blast, there is still a significant amount of damage and a large number of structures on fire, and there are reports of windows blown out of buildings, and as well as other damage further out, as far as 7 to 8 miles from the blast's original point. Basically, it's just a matter of distance. The closer you get, the worse it gets.
Tracy, we reported earlier that officials have confirmed the blast involved some sort of radioactive material. Have you heard anything more about that? Can you think of anything in that area that, if it was damaged, could somehow account for these readings?
I spoke with some police officers a short while ago, and they told me they still haven't officially determined the source of radioactive material, but they haven't ruled out a radiological weapon of some sort. But what else could it be? There's nothing out this way that could have exploded and dispersed radiation like that as a result. So regardless, they're not letting anybody within miles of the blast site. But the consensus on the street here
Tracy,
in Van Nuys is that...
I'm sorry, Tracy, we have to interrupt you as we're getting some new information here. Please stay on the line as we'll be checking back with you shortly for more details as the situation develops. But it seems the Department of Homeland Security has... Yes, the Department of Homeland Security has just announced that this indeed was an act of terrorism. And in fact, a nuclear weapon was involved. Okay. So for those of you who may just be joining us, there has been a massive explosion, a nuclear terrorist attack in Los Angeles just after 7:30 Pacific time this morning. It is expected that tens of thousands of massive casualties are expected as a result of this blast. The area is being described as Armageddon, a war zone, and utter devastation. Damage from the blast is being reported many miles from the site of the explosion. Fire and police departments are calling the blast area a no-go zone. ENN will continue to bring you the latest information from the scene in Los Angeles as it becomes available to us. As you can imagine, information is sparse and disjointed at this point in time as rescue workers and law enforcement personnel attempt to bring order in the midst of pure chaos. Our hearts and prayers go out to the individuals and families affected by this catastrophe. Please stay tuned to ENN for updates on the nuclear attack on Los Angeles and other breaking news across the country.